What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Dialogue with Dave. Today we have a really special guest. His name is Joseph Duva. He's a doctor of physical therapist and an incredible golfer. Please show some support by subscribing to the channel and dropping a like. Let's get right into the video. Hey Joe, thanks for coming today.
Good to see you, always.
Yes, nice to see you. So introduce yourself to the viewers, tell them who you are.
My name is Joseph Duva. I am actually a doctor of physical therapy. I graduated in 2017 and I've been working for the same company since then, Novacare Rehabilitation. And I work down in Delaware actually. And growing up, I was always into sports, and one of my true loves is golf. So I've been playing since I was about 7 years old, actually.
Great. Well, last time I had a physical therapist on here, so maybe you can put a little spin of physical therapy and sports, you know, a little bit of the mental aspect.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot going on. So why do you play golf?
So it's a funny story actually. So I have an older brother. He's 5 years older than me. And so right around the time when he was 12, I was 7, my dad got him a set of golf clubs, and I was like right away. You know, the younger brother mentality, you always want to be better than him. Yeah. So, you know, I would go in the backyard with my little plastic clubs and I would play. And then finally, about a year into it, my dad got me like my first junior set. So I was so excited. And ever since then, I loved it. You know, from the time you hit your first good shot, just flush it, you just get hooked right away. So I was happy.
Yeah, so I guess that kind of plays into my next question, you know, why do you keep playing? You know?
Yeah. So, you know, it has to do with my drive. You know, I played soccer all my life as well, and you just want to become better. So I started playing competitive golf when I was around 10, and you know, just growing up, and you go to the range. You want to go to the range. At first, it was for fun. You know, you start hitting a couple good shots, and then you go to the course, and then you actually see it like play out. Like, there's no better feeling. So I was just always that kind of guy. I was just like, yo, let's go play golf, you know, to my dad, obviously. But.
Yeah. No, it's funny because I started playing golf recently, a couple of years, you know. I mean, we've actually played together.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, I'm not that good, but you know, but like you said, it's always great when you hit a good shot. Like, oh, come on, no, that was awesome.
Exactly, right? There's no better feeling.
And then the next shot is bad, and like, oh. But no, it's definitely great when you are playing something.
Yeah, it's rewarding.
Well.
Yeah, exactly.
So, if you could achieve anything in golf, you know, maybe something that you have achieved or something you want to achieve, and you know, how would you do it?
So, I mean, the biggest thing for me now in my state right now is just the longevity, trying to play for my entire life, stay away from injuries that'll keep you sidelined. Yeah. But I just want to, it's one of those sports that you can play until you're, you know, 80 years old. So at my point in life right now, that's my goal. Just keep playing, stay competitive. But, you know, when I was younger, what I wanted to achieve was be the best golfer you could be. So when I was in high school, I made it to 3 state championships for my sophomore year starting. And then obviously when I got to college, well, actually before college, you want to be that number 1 guy on the team, right? Yeah. So I was number 1, I was a captain in high school, whatever. But in college, you want to be the best player that you can be and like compete with the best in your state.
Of course.
So, or just even your conference around you. So yeah, that was my goal back then. Now that that's over, you know, I just want to have longevity. So.
No, I mean, and being a physical therapist, I'm sure you can, you know, self-treat, you know, just kind of diagnose and stay healthy.
Yeah, and that's one of the positives is like, you know, you could feel it coming on. So I went through a course probably when I was just out of high school, and it's almost like every year you start playing up again in the spring, and like you start hitting, you know, 200 balls a day, and you know, I could feel it. Like I always got the same shoulder injury, but being a physical therapist, obviously I can catch it pretty early and, you know, keep to it. So yeah, I definitely have that on my side, which is nice, but for others, I could see where it's a problem. It's like, you know, you go out there, hit the range for the first week of like the nicest week of the year so far, and then you have that injury, and it's like.
Yeah, it's a little bit different here because, you know, we're in Philadelphia, obviously, and we have our winter. It's not
Yeah.
Florida where
Yeah.
you can play every single day, or the Carolinas. So
Yeah.
you know, for all the golfers, you know, out there, you know, don't start off like you would when you were playing every day.
Exactly.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
You know?
And actually, going into that, you know, a lot of being a physical therapist, I see a lot of older gentlemen, retirees that play golf almost all year round. And so, you know, it's nice to they might not be coming to me for a golf injury. You know, it might be just low back pain during the winter time. But it's always nice to be able to instill that in their head as like, make sure you have a good routine, stay active in the winter, because when you get out there in the spring, like, it's not going to be the same. You know, your body's going to be doing different things that it's not used to, and it might react differently, you know? So.
Yeah, so I mean, I know that you still compete kind of
Yeah.
in maybe club tournaments or whatever it is. You know, this is kind of a two-part question. You know, what would be the ultimate goal, I guess, for kind of this year moving into next year? And then on top of that, you know, how are you preparing? Like, how do you prepare? How do you kind of train for that type of situation?
Okay, so one of my short-term, mid-term goals right now for me, you know, being post-college and not competing, other than, like you said, the club tournaments that I compete in, but the tournaments outside of that, the amateur tournaments within the state, within the tri-state area,
Yeah.
I've always wanted to get back to that. I did that when I was in high school. As a junior, I played in a lot of tournaments outside of high school. And so I want to get back to that. And, you know, I guess this has been the past couple months, but I've set some goals for me, not for this winter because the season's almost over, but for next spring. I really want to get to the range every day, hit at least 100 balls, and really work on the things that I don't do best. You know, sometimes people go to the range, they'll hit their driver like for 90% of the time.
Yeah.
But for me, what I find is my long irons are actually what's hurting me the most. And it's very humbling for someone to be able to, I guess, take that and, you know, admit it. So for me, I want to work on my irons, my long irons, and then try to get my handicap down to a respectable number so that I can compete in these tournaments.
Yeah.
So I want to get there within the next 3 years. Right now I'm at, you know, like a 7.2 handicap. And in order to compete in these tournaments, you have to be below a 2.4. So, you know, my goal is to go down by 2 every year and hopefully get into that 2.5 range.
Yeah.
So it's the little things though. You know?
No, definitely. I mean, especially in golf, I mean,
Yeah.
it could be the difference between a putt.
Yeah, exactly. It's so hard for people to just accept the fact that, like, you know, any average golfer, any golfer really, just wants to play golf. They want to go out on the course, they want to play golf, have fun with their friends,
Yeah.
but like it's the work that goes on behind the scenes, you know. And sometimes, and you know, I can admit it, like, freaking after work one day, like instead of going to the range, I'm like, oh, maybe I can get in 9 holes, and I'll go play 9 holes.
Yeah.
Whereas I can spend that hour and a half or 2 hours just working on my long irons, you know. But
No, that's great. I mean,
it's the discipline.
It's
you know?
that's the difference, you know. And kind of great segue, you know. Does your everyday behavior affect your sport?
I will say it does. And to be honest, like being a physical therapist, I work long hours, treating people. I'm on my feet every day. And like by the end of the day, like sometimes I'm just like, oh man, I just want to go home, have a beer, you know, relax. But I feel like the season's affected as well. Sometimes when it's in the winter time or in the fall or the spring, like when you can't play every day.
Yeah.
So when you have that one good day, you're extra motivated to go out there and, you know, do what you got to do to play. So yeah, I think it does affect me. Definitely.
Yeah, it's funny because, you know, when I was younger, obviously, even before college,
Yeah.
I played tennis every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have a job. My job was school and tennis.
Right.
You know, same thing for you. Your job was school and golf.
Yeah.
You know, now you're trying to get to that next level, you know, and your job isn't golf. I mean, you have a job.
Yep.
It would be much different if your job was golf, you know, and
Definitely would be. Yeah.
I mean, and not saying that maybe one day it can't be, but just
Yeah.
it's like you're saying, it's not just, oh, I want to go and do my job and then go and practice,
Yeah.
So it's a whole different mindset kind
Yeah.
of. But what would be, I guess, today as opposed to before? What is the most committed type of golfer that you can kind of envision yourself today? Like, what is the most committed you can be?
You're saying for me?
Yeah, for you.
So for me, I try to get in, like I said, as many rounds as I can. And then on club tournament weekends, like I definitely am more committed. So maybe it goes back to the fact that like I don't have a schedule where every weekend I'm playing in a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, when it's a month in between every tournament, that week leading up to it, I definitely stay committed. I go to the range. I'll hit probably 70 to 75 balls each day leading up to it, and then I'll go to the practice area, chip some balls, I'll putt for at least a half hour each. So yeah, I think it has more to do with the timetable and like what you're playing in. And I guess if it was my full-time job, maybe that'll that would be my everyday thing.
Yeah.
But since, like you said, we have jobs on the side, it's hard to do.
Yeah. Kind of making this 50-50. That's
exactly.
That's the goal now instead of 90-10.
Exactly.
But no, that's great. So, kind of more sports psychology. What is the most confident version of yourself? What does that look like? You can even tell the people. What does the confident Joe Duva look like?
Yeah. So it all depends. I mean, golf's a crazy game. Whereas tennis, you got a couple of different shots to handle and master. Golf, you got every single iron in your bag, every club in your bag is so different. And, you can stand up there on the tee with a 7-iron in your hand and you're hitting it well, oh, I got this. So, whereas you can go up there with a 4-iron on the tee and you're like, oh my God, I duck hooked this the last hole. So you don't feel as confident, but, when you're feeling it, when I'm feeling it, it's something in my head that, you just have the confidence, you've done this before, and if you keep your same routine, I feel like you can emulate that every time. So I have this routine that I get into, especially with putting, short game, and my driver, where I do the same exact pre-shot routine every time. And I feel like when you have repetition like that, you kind of go back to your old ways, you feel comfortable, you're not out of your head. So having that, you feel more comfortable and you can execute your shot better. So
yeah, no, it's great that you said that, because one of the things that I teach every single person that I do sports psychology with is have a routine.
Yeah.
For my routine in tennis, when I serve, I bounce the ball 1, 2, 3, and I go into my motion.
Yeah.
And I do it every single time, because what that does is it makes me feel comfortable.
Exactly.
In a pressure situation, in the beginning of a game, okay, it doesn't matter so much, but the pressure situation, I go back to my 1, 2, 3, and it feels normal.
Yep.
What do you do? What is your routine? Give the viewers your actual routine, because maybe they don't have one.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll do what you do.
And it also has to do, it's not so much with your physical aspect of the swing or routine, it's also mental, what you think before you hit your shot.
Absolutely.
So with my driver, when I'm on the tee, standing over the ball, I actually just envision where I want to put the ball on the fairway. That's the first thing. Then I go through, I have 2 practice swings right behind my ball that's teed up. And then I just go up there. I always do one of these, flip this back, the shirt, and you just go. I mean, that's for the driver. And some people that know me will say, the driver is the best club in your bag, because it's like, I don't hit it far, I'm shorter, but it's straight every time. I rarely lose a ball on the golf course. But in terms of putting is actually my most routine thing, where honestly, I've had the same ball mark or divot repair tool in my pocket since I was in high school. So I'll never let that go. If I ever lose that thing, God help me, I don't know if I'll ever be able to play golf again, but always go up to the green, fix your ball mark, and and then the routine starts. So I stand behind the ball, looking at the hole, and I just read the green, see what I can do. And then I always walk around. You always walk around the low, or I always walk around the low side of the green with the slope. But look at it from behind the hole, come back. I put my ball down, line it up, and then pick up, or I stand behind it, check again from a little bit of a distance. Once I confirm, pick up the ball mark, throw it in the pocket, and then, I don't know why I do this, but I guess it's just habit and superstition, is I do a little flip of the club, and then I do this with my shoulder, and the rest is history. Those are the two best parts of my game, and I don't know if it's because of that, but, routine definitely is something that I would say a competitive athlete needs.
Yeah.
And it just puts you at ease,
Yeah, it's funny that you said that, I don't know if it is your routine, because, maybe it is your routine. And one thing you should try that you mentioned is try having a routine when you hit your 7-iron or your 4 or your 3-wood. Try having a routine, because maybe you'll start to see, like, you know what? It works for me on my driving, my putting. Maybe it's going to work for my other shots.
Yeah.
And another thing that you touched on, which is really great, is imagery and visualization. You like, okay, I see what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That is like one of the most important sports psychology things that I go over. Yeah, routine's important, but seeing yourself be great or seeing the ball go wherever, I know people who, before they, specifically in tennis, they sit on the car ride there and they envision the entire match from the first points, and they're sitting there, eyes closed, eyes open, but they envision the whole match, how it's gonna go. They even put in mistakes. They put in everything, and it's just like, for me, I specifically don't do that. I like more when I'm there in the moment.
Right.
But for some people, they tell me, it's great. I have such great success. I envision the whole match.
Yeah.
So for you,
Yeah, and when I was a kid, now that I think about it, when I was playing in tournaments, that's definitely something that I did before, even if it was like on the bus ride to the course. You take a look at the book of the course, go through the holes, see where you want to hit the ball off the tee. Say, I want to put it there. That's my position. That's my 8th position. It'll give me the best shot at the green. And I did that for every single hole. And that's something I might have lost now that I play the same course almost 4 times a week, but just because I know it so well. But that's something that maybe I should go back to when I'm planning new courses. Take a look at the holes, see where you're at, see where you want to put the ball, and have that imagery. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice when you can figure out what works.
Yeah.
Because what works for you won't work for me,
won't
work for someone else. And it seems like that imagery thing is that thing.
Yeah.
Is what's working for you. So, this kind of might be a repeat, but what are the mental things that you do well? Like, what are you can have 1, 2, however, but what are the mental things that you do well?
So I never lose my head. Every golfer will have a bad shot, and I just played in a big tournament, biggest tournament of the year at my country club, the member guest, and I would have a bad shot or two, and a lot of people, and this is one of the biggest things I see on the PGA Tour, the amateur tours, all those tours, is that they have a bad shot and they won't forget about it. They'll take that into their next shot, the next hole, the entire round.
Yeah.
So for me, one of my biggest mental strengths is that I hit a bad shot, I'm like, that's not me. I forget about it right there. And you just think about the next shot. This is what I have at task right now. And, I look at it as a challenge. If I'm in a bad spot, I'm saying, what can I do with the shot? Where do I want to put it? Get myself back in play. So that's one of my biggest things, is that, and I think other people can attest to this too, friends and family, that I never lose my head. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something that, I was going to touch on this earlier, but you hit the nail right on the head. The number one thing I teach to anyone, is play in the present. What happened in the past, you can't change.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's going to happen in the future.
Yep.
So focus on what's happening now. And I give like a funny example. I say, you know, I work with a lot of kids. So I'll say, if you're in math class and you're thinking about English, you're not giving 100% focus to math.
Yeah.
So you're not going to retain 100% of that information.
Yeah.
It's the same thing for sports. If you're thinking about what happened last point or what's going to happen, how are you giving 100% to the current point?
Exactly, yeah.
And to some of them, they go, it's like their mind will be like, oh my God. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I tell them and I laugh, I'm like, I said, do that.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good analogy.
And they come back. Every single person's come back. Yeah, it worked. And I was like, I know it worked.
That's awesome. Yeah.
No, and that's I will teach every single person. I will teach that as day one, session one. That's the first thing I teach them. Then we go into things such as imagery and visualization. All the extra stuff, and I'll see what works. But that right there, that works for everyone.
Yeah.
And that you can do not just in sports. You can do that in life. You can do that in your job.
Yeah.
And people, oh, how can I do my job? I mean, if you have a task, do that task. Don't think about what's going to happen after or before,
I was just going to say that actually, to butt in. With a lot of my patients, some of them are, I'd say about 25% of them are post-surgical. And one of their first questions, I don't know why, but one of their first questions, every single time I see them for the initial eval is, when am I going to get better? When do you think this will resolve?
Yeah.
When can I get back to doing what I'm doing? And I'm just saying, you know what? Let's think about now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our short-term goals, what we want to do 2 weeks from now, not 6 months from now or 8 weeks from now. You gotta achieve those little things first. See that you're making progress, and then we can think about that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You're annoying me because you're taking me off course, but you're bringing up good points because usually session 2 is I make my, whoever I'm working with.
Yeah.
Guy, girl, pro, athlete, whatever.
Yeah.
And make them write down goals. First, we have short-term goals.
Yeah.
I call them medium and then
right.
long-term.
Yeah.
And what I ask people is, what is a short-term goal for you? And they'll say something they want to achieve in like 2 weeks. I'm like, no, that's not a short-term goal. A short-term goal is something you can achieve today.
Today, yeah.
And I say, what I want you to do is, when you achieve a goal, I want you to cross it off. I want you to physically take your pen and physically cross it off. Because that right there, that kind of mentally, it's like a mental
it's like, all right, I did
achievement.
That. You can forget about it.
And the reason I tell them, do something you can achieve today, is because if you set goals that are too hard or that take too long, you don't see achievement.
Yeah.
You don't see success. And when you don't see that, you get, you're like, oh man, this is the worst. And you feel like you're not doing the right job.
Yeah.
And the easiest thing I tell people is, your goal 1, right? Have fun today.
Yeah.
If you can go out and have fun today, you can go and cross it off and say, I had fun today.
Exactly.
And look, you crossed it off. And then as you go, you'll start to see that you're hitting your goals.
Yeah.
And now what you can start doing is you can start changing your goals. So something that was something you want to achieve in a month, now you got it. Now you have a new month goal.
Yeah.
Now you have a new year goal. I don't like goals that are, I want to be number 1 in the section or in the country or whatever.
Yeah.
In a year, or in that's you can put that down there.
Yeah.
But I want that at the bottom of your list.
Right.
What are the steps you're going to do to get to kind of work your way up there? Those are the goals I want. And if you're not achieving a goal, I would say every week, if there's not, change your goals.
Right.
I would love to see you have a piece of paper this long and there's a line through it, every single one, because that shows me that you know what you're doing and your success and everything.
Yeah, no, I see that translate into my business as well. It's like I said, post-surgical, we'll just use knee replacement, we'll say. And I always talk with them the first session, the initial evaluation. I always say, what do you do that you like? What do you do? Do you run? Do you jog? Whatever. And I set these goals, like you said, with them. And some people are like, well, when do I start to run? Like, when am I going to get back to running? I'm like, well, it's a process, but there's certain steps we got to take to get there. And you got to be honest with them, but I subconsciously set little goals for them that they can achieve, and maybe it's not in their head because they're so focused on the task at hand and getting at the end, that when it does happen, when they get around on the bike for the first time post knee replacement, for me that's a huge goal to hit, and it's just a short-term goal. Like, it happens within 3 weeks, you know. And when I do that, I give them a high five. Well, COVID, I'll give them like a little fist bump.
The COVID bump.
Yeah, the COVID bump. But that's a huge goal for me, because you can, and you get this so much confidence that you can go so far from there, you know. And that's just a little goal that you hit.
Yeah, it's actually great that you said that, because I actually worked in a physical therapy office as an assistant for about a year.
Yeah.
And I had this lady, and I'll never forget this. I had this lady come in with a double knee replacement.
Oof.
And she was crying, and she was with a walker, and she couldn't do anything. And the first time she, took a step, she had to take a step up on like this little fake staircase we had. She was crying. I'm like, oh, she's sad again. But she looked at me and she said, no, like, I'm happy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I remember the day that she left, she was running on the treadmill, jumping, and back to crying. And I knew that these tears were the happy tears.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I worked with her from the very first day, and she came in every single day, and I worked for day one until that day I saw her running on the treadmill. And even for me, like, I know for her it must have been like, I can't even explain what she felt, but what I felt was like, as a team, look what we did.
Right, and that's a great journey. That's one of the things that I love about physical therapy and what I do. But I'm glad you brought that story up, because a big part of what I have to deal with on an everyday basis, multiple times a day, is the mental state of my patients. Mm-hmm. So post-surgery, or just injury in general, is that they're so down, and it doesn't have to be an athlete. It could be, the 50-year-old runner that, has an Achilles strain. Mm-hmm. And, they're just so upset that they can't run, and they're so down on themselves. They said, I could have done this so differently, but one of the things that I try to instill in everyone in my everyday routine is comfortability. So from day one, I get comfortable with them. I try to get them to open up a little bit. It makes them more comfortable, and it gets their mind and attitude a little bit more positive. So I don't know if that's something that you do with your clients, but just making them feel comfortable is like half the battle. Becoming, I wouldn't say friends with them, but getting them in the state of mind that allows them to do the work that I want them to do and will benefit them in the future. So
no one I work with will listen to what I'm saying or do what I'm saying unless they're comfortable.
Exactly.
If they don't feel comfortable, or I know they don't feel comfortable, I know it's not going to work.
Yep.
So the main thing I try to do is, like you said, I'm not like your best friend, but I'm your friend.
Yeah.
And I tell them things such as, you can send me a text, or call me, or FaceTime me, email, anything you want, anytime.
Yeah.
If you need me to be somewhere for you, I'll be there.
Yeah.
I've gone to people's tournaments. I've gone to people's track meets. I've literally gone and sat with their parents and watched them compete.
That's awesome, yeah.
And they see me up there. They're not like, hi, but they see me, and then we'll go to like a next session, and they're like, I appreciate you coming.
Yeah, that's great.
And so
it means a lot to them too.
And sometimes I'll show up to an event, just because I want to show up and support. They don't ask, and I'm there, and they see and they acknowledge, and like this, and that's the type of things that make people feel comfortable.
Right.
And that's how you're gonna be successful.
Yeah.
If the people you're working with they trust you, and they can feel like they can be yourselves.
Exactly.
They're not telling you what you want to hear, because I don't want that.
Yeah. Now, going back to what you said about you can tell when people are not comfortable, I get that same thing in my clinic, is that, you get I don't want to say sticklers, but people that are just skeptical, and, the first day, it's basically like I'm working for them. It's like, what can I offer them? So, immediately after that, obviously I educate them about their injury and what I can do to help them. but just try to talk to them, get them on a level where they'd feel comfortable talking to their friends about or their family about, and then you go from there. And I've seen the best results with my patients when they're comfortable with me. I think a relationship can't blossom or work out unless the feeling's mutual.
Yeah, it's funny they said that, the stickler thing. So when people hear the word sports psychology, there's all automatically a negative stigma.
Yeah.
And I tell them that when someone's a sports psychologist, that means they think there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
Before I start with someone, I say, one, there's nothing wrong with you. The reason you're here is because you want to improve your mental game to improve your overall game. That right there.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That right there instantly is like
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think of it like that.
Right.
So actually, it's not called sports psychology anymore. It's CMPC, competitive mental performance coach.
I like that.
It's
Did
a
you come
whole,
up with that?
No, I wish I did. No, but that's what it is now. That it's called. That's the new saying, and now it's like, mental coach.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds cool.
Let me ask you something though. When you were growing up playing tennis, did you have a coach? Did you have that available to you? Because from my perspective, I only had a performance coach. I only had the pro at the local golf club that would work with me in my swing, but not so much the mental game.
So my dad came up to me because I was a hothead.
Yeah.
Super hothead, like smash rackets.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Typical tennis player.
Yeah. Just talk to him. I mean, any tennis player, they talk to themselves. Like, if you didn't know that they were playing tennis, this person's insane. But my favorite, oh my god, that was my saying. You can ask, oh my god, you suck.
Yeah.
And anyone who's a tennis player, they're like, yeah, I say that. But my dad's like, I want to take you to a sports psychologist. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I always regret it because I wish I would have went. So I wish my dad would have forced me to go there.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was that there was something wrong with me. That was negative. It was so, when I heard sports psychologist, I forget what I said, psychologist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nothing's wrong with me.
Right.
And I always wish that my dad would have taken me there because I've never been a professional player.
Yeah.
But I know I would have been just so much better.
Right.
And not that I was a bad player, but I just would have been that next level.
Mm-hmm.
And I always regret it. And I always tell them, because now this is what I do, and I tell them, like, you should have made me go. But no, and it's sad.
Yeah.
But it's great now that
mental
that
game.
I can do it now.
Mentally, it's such a huge part of sports, and you always hear like it's 90% mental, 10% physical, but it's crazy. Like if you play the same course, we'll say it's a tournament, and you have to play, the course 4 times, 4 days in a row. That first round, you have a bad first hole. The next time you step up to that tee the next day, you're like, oh my god, like I doubled this hole yesterday. What am I going to do today? So, you don't even think about that as being mental. When you're just playing the round, but it really is true. I'd say over 75% of the game is mental because every single shot, I'd say every shot leading up to the point is all mental. It's your, like I said, mental routine, your physical routine, and just everything like that. So
yeah,
it's wild.
It's going back to playing in the present.
Yeah.
You played that hole yesterday, but that hole was yesterday.
That was you're
and
right.
Now you're here today.
Yep.
And that's why I teach that to every single person.
Yeah, I like that.
You played this opponent last time at this same tournament, but now it's this tournament today.
Yeah.
So what they beat you last time, or so what you beat them last time.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean totally different outcome can happen.
Right.
And you see it in sports all the time. You see like crazy upsets, or you see a team that won and they go out and they lose.
Yeah.
And it's like, in football, Eagles fan, Giants fan, big game Thursday. But we play twice.
Yeah.
What happens Thursday when we play again? That's not going to happen again.
It's not going to affect. Yeah.
It could. Score could be the same. Outcome could be the same. But most likely it won't be.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. And that's a good. And then I want to go back for a second how you talked about your coach and your parents. You know, what I want you to talk about back then and today. What did you need from your coach and your parents back then? And what do you need from your coach, if you have a coach, and your parents now?
So at very different times. Obviously, I started playing golf when I was 7. I had a coach. My first coach was at the age of 10, and it was almost like at that time in my life, I was just like, oh yeah, it's just another day. We're going to the range, you know. And so with the, I wouldn't say discipline from my parents, but just their commitment. You know, I would go along with it, and at the time I might not have noticed what the outcome would be, but to see myself today or in high school 4 years later after having that coach, the change was crazy. And so I mean, it was just such a big part of my life that I didn't think of at the time, but today really is, I don't have a coach. And it's funny because it's probably the highest handicap I've had right now since I was 14 that I've had in my life. And so my dad's always like, oh yeah, you suck at golf, like you gotta go to the pro at the club, get a lesson. And you know what, this season was the season that I was like, that's it, I need to get lessons again, because I'm creating bad habits. And it's one thing that, like, if you play too much, you create bad habits and you don't even notice it. You know, you just start to adapt. You're like, all right, I need to do this swing, I need to do that, and you don't notice, and then you find yourself at the end of the season, you're like, what happened this season?
Yeah.
And so I'm realizing that now, and I'm like, you know, maybe I should just get an adjustment, just, you know, get a second pair of eyes on me and see what I can do differently. Maybe my body can't do it, but just to have like that peace of mind, you know. So nowadays, it's, although the reinforcement's there, it's not like my dad makes me get lessons.
Yeah.
So, but I think he still has the same frame of mind. It's like, you need lessons. So
Yeah.
I just need to take the action now. It's up to me. It's in my hands.
Yeah.
Ball's in my court.
Yeah. And this is actually, I mean, you might have the same answer, but you know, if you do need kind of help or whatever it is, who can you ask for help with? Who can you talk to? Maybe, okay, let's say your parents is one, but who else is there that you can kind of talk to help you?
I talk to my friends, mainly the ones that play golf with me, but and that are playing golf with me almost every day, or every time I play golf. So some of them are friends from school and college that I play golf with every single day. They knew that me. They knew me at my best, and we still play golf today. And if I notice something's wrong, like, I'm just like, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? And you know, you get the honest answer out of them, which is good.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if I asked one of my patients, say, hey, look at my swing, like, maybe they won't be honest with me. So whereas if I had a coach, or if I went to the pro, got a lesson, he'll tell you straight up. That's his job. Like, you know, so yeah, I feel like I mainly turn to my friends. When I do play golf with my dad, though, he won't be afraid to speak up. He'll say it, yeah. Like, you're too fast with your backswing. Like, your transition's way too fast.
That's great. And that's great that you can, you know, because some people don't have that.
Yeah.
Or some people are scared of that, you know. Ask for help.
Yep.
No one's gonna, you know, be like, oh, you suck, I'm not gonna help you. You know?
Right.
And kind of going off this, you know, how can you tell when you're getting good advice and when you're getting advice that you know it's bad advice, but I'm not saying you want to tell a person no bad advice, but how do you kind of tell good advice from bad advice?
I think, so bad advice doesn't necessarily mean it's bad advice. The way I think of advice is, does the person know you? Does he play with you every day? Is he your family? Is he honest with you? So this guy, I could be playing with a random person in a foursome on a Sunday that I've never met before, but he has really good advice. I might take it as, all right, this guy doesn't know my swing. Like, that's bad advice.
Yeah.
Whereas it could be the fix to all my problems.
Yeah.
But you know, so I don't know if I can tell. You know, that's where my judgment comes in. It's like, I can trust my family, I can trust my friends, but can I trust someone that's, that you don't know? So, and I guess that goes into like having a coach. You got to know your coach, you got to trust them, be comfortable with them. Going back to that.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've had many coaches.
Yeah.
And there was one coach. When I started, I had a couple coaches that kind of taught me how to play. Then I had a couple coaches that got me better. But when I was about 15 or so, I met my forever coach.
Yeah.
Who really was the best coach I ever had.
That's awesome.
And that's when my game went from here to here
to there.
And that's kind of hard. I mean, you got to find the right coach.
Yeah.
You got to find the coach that understands you and that wants to help you and that knows how to help you.
Right.
You could have the best coach in the country, but maybe that coach and you just don't gel.
Yeah.
And that doesn't. And you see it all the time with
Dallas Cowboys.
You see it with,
Sorry, Cowboys fans.
Cowboys boo. No, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Find a coach.
Yeah, it's true. Definitely. And I mean, I've had those in my day. I probably went to 2 or 3 different coaches when I was younger before I told my dad. I was like, this is the guy.
Yeah.
And it's funny, actually. It's a funny story. So this was at a private club, not associated with my parents' club at all growing up. And I went to this guy and I was like, this is the guy. He's so relatable. Like, he understood me right away. We clicked. And
I felt confident.
Yeah. And so I was probably 12 at the time. 10 years later, my parents joined a new club. This guy's the head pro there. And I was like, oh my God. If he knew what happened in my game, like, he'd be so proud,
Yeah.
And I eventually told him, like, we caught up.
Yeah.
And he was so happy. And seeing that from a coach, that was a nice feeling.
Yeah, I coach too. I actually, I feel like I'm a jack of all trades, but no,
Gotta work on your golf game now.
Yeah, that's the only thing. No, but I coached at like a couple tennis academies, and I worked at I work as a coach now.
Yeah.
And I always, it's funny because now I get to role reverse.
Yep.
And some of the things my coaches used to say to me, I see myself saying now. But then, like, when I'm happy, I see that they're happy, and it's like it's so rewarding when I worked with someone and they win and they're like, coach, like, it is so good. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm like,
that's great. They're like your little babies, like
yeah,
little
no, it is, and it's like so great, and it's like the best feel. It's the best feeling when you win. You tell your coach, then when you coach your players, and it's just like it's all full circle. So it's really great.
That's cool, man.
It's a cool feeling, yeah. So, what do you think? The number one golfers in the world today. What are some of the skills and attributes they have that make them the best?
So I think number one, like, it just takes pure raw talent. So, like, the strength they have. The game's changed from back in the day when Phil Mickelson, John Daly were playing, Vijay Singh, all of them. It wasn't so much physical; it was more mechanics. But the kids these days, their strength routine and their workout routine is just insane. So that's like the number one thing. But it all goes back to the mental game. I mean, there's some head cases out there, Bryson DeChambeau, but no, I mean, that dude, he's going off right now. He's literally changing the game as we speak, where it's go balls to the wall, hit it as far as you can, and get as close to the green as possible, and then you deal with it from there. So, it's pretty cool to see the game evolving as we grew up. But I'd say the top three things is the mental stability, the physical stability, and then being able to execute under pressure. So, like, Bryson DeChambeau just won, the U.S. Open or the PGA Championship a couple weeks ago. And that last putt, he was 5 strokes up on the 72nd hole. And that last putt was a mean, nasty downhill slider. And he just put it right in the back of the cup. He was like, I don't need to miss this putt. Most people, if they have a 5-stroke lead, they step up to it and they're like, all right, I'm going to tap it, get it next to the hole so it's a stress-free putt. This dude was like, I want to put it in the hole. I want to finish it now. And so that's the things that differentiates the average golfer to the pros. Like, these guys go just so far beyond what we would even think is possible.
Yeah.
And that's just their everyday thing.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm gonna look at the camera right now and I'm gonna tell everyone, if you don't think the mental game is important, you are so wrong. Understand that.
Yeah.
The mental game is that you have the sport you're playing, you have the training, you have the on-court, on-field, on whatever training, you have the off-court gym,
Yeah.
you know, trying to get strong, fit, and then you have the mental.
Mental.
And people don't get it.
And
the mental is so important.
You might not think that you have a mental aspect of your game, but you do. You're going through it. I didn't realize it until I was older, but literally every single shot you hit, it's a mental aspect. It's 80% mental, and you're just not thinking about it. Your routine is mental, your confidence is mental, and your physical performance is mental too, because it's muscle memory. It's the way you move your body. So you might not think it's mental, but it is mental. Sorry.
No, he's right. Yeah. So going back to you.
Yeah.
When you train, do you kind of go through the motions, or are you kind of going out there with like an edge, and you're like, you know, this is what I'm gonna come here and do this today, or is it kind of just like, oh, I'm here and I'm gonna whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what motion that
It
was.
varies. So it varies. In the wintertime, like I actually just started my gym routine for golf for the winter. So when you go to the gym, you have a purpose. I have a routine that I go through every time, and I'll progress that throughout the winter. But when you're going to the range, when you're going to the putting green, the chipping green, you know, there's some days that I just go out there. I'm just like, I'm gonna hit some balls. But my routine is always the same. I always start with the lowest iron in my bag. I switch every iron off and on until I get to my driver, and then I go back down and I start again from the other irons that I missed,
Wow.
and then I go back up. So there's always a purpose when I go to the range.
Awesome.
And even when I go to the putting green, there's 3 drills that I do. The first one is the 1 foot drill, where set up a ball, foot from the cup, do another foot, and another foot, and another foot. You have to make every single one of them a certain amount of times before you can move on to the next. But if you miss one of those putts, you have to start from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I actually stole that from Phil Mickelson. Thank you, Phil. I don't hit bombs like you, but I wish I did. But no, that's one of the drills. Another one that I do is just speed and read of the greens. So I'm not too much focused on where putting the ball in the hole, but getting down the speed to feel the way the ball moves on the green. And then the other one is just go out and hit the craziest putts you can hit. Like you go from one side of the putting green, so this is it. You go from one side to the other, and you just try to have some fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, there's always a purpose.
Yeah. Great. No, that's great. And God, you kind of touched on this right now, but do you ever practice pressure situations? I know nothing can ever be like the real deal, but do you ever practice pressure situations?
Myself, when it's just me alone, probably not 100% of the time. Probably not even 10% of the time. But you always have that like bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, bases loaded, down by 2. You know, you always have those moments that you do simulate. So I do that, but when I'm with friends and we're on the putting green, we always make it competitive, and that allows, I always find, make it competitive, it allows you to practice and play better. Mm-hmm. So, you know, since it is an individual sport, just like tennis is, yeah, I always find that finding some type of competition helps with simulating that competitive spirit and in-game situation. Yeah.
It's great. Yeah, I'm in the men's league now.
Nice.
And I haven't really competed like since really college. Mm-hmm. And this men's league it's not singles, it's doubles, which is fine. I'm more of a singles player.
Yeah.
So this is like kind of new for me, kind of getting better in doubles and playing people who I'm better than in singles, but now I'm playing them in doubles. But now it gets so competitive, and I see myself, you know, like fighting with men like twice my age. But it's all good because afterwards we all like will maybe, you know, get a beer or like hang out, get some food. But you know, when I'm on there, I'm like, I hate you, man. And we're playing, and it's competitive, and I love it.
Yeah.
And you know, soon I'll be good at golf, and then
we'll be competitive together.
Yeah, we can do I'll be the partner and the member.
Maybe the member guest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the member guest.
No, that's the same thing with me too. Is like I play when you go on a Sunday and you play with 3 random people. You know, you make it competitive. You throw $5 in the match, whatever. You play with handicaps. So I don't know if this golf is a very different sport than others, where you have a handicap. You can actually, play you can make it competitive for every player in the group. Whether you're a 20 handicap and you're shooting 95, or you're a 7 and you're shooting 75 or 90 or 80. And it makes it fun for everyone, but it makes the round more enjoyable.
Yeah. So last question before we kind of dive into just a whole bunch of sports psychology questions.
Yeah.
Even though we have touched a lot on sports psychology, I mean, there's some things in here. Like I said, you ruined my flow, but no, it's good. I like the conversation.
Yeah.
So, is there something right now that's stopping you from kind of improving or being the best you can be?
I would say there's 2 parts of it that are kind of in the way right now. One's my career. I'm trying to, progress and move up and do whatever to be the best physical therapist I can be. And the other is, like I said, sometimes just motivation. It's like, if you don't have a goal set, and maybe your goal is not set until next year, playing in the next tournament, the next club championship. Sometimes if you don't have that short-term goal, like I'm just like sidelined. I'm like, I'd rather go home and sit on the couch. So I think it is partially my career, but also partially that motivation aspect. So I am a victim. I do think there are things in the way. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it's, at least you can admit and kind of understand what it is.
Yeah.
So you can change it.
Yeah.
If you want.
If I want, and I do want to, it's just when.
So hopefully now, live in the present.
Right now.
But kind of diving into some sports psychology stuff, and I don't know how much sports psychology this first question is, but sleep is very important.
Yeah.
And if being well rested, how many hours of sleep do you get, and how do you know that you're getting a good night's rest? Like what's something you do to kind of get that good night sleep?
It varies. So obviously the weekends are different, but during the week I try to get in bed before 10 o'clock. And since I work long days, I work 12-hour days, 3 days a week. I really do try to get that 7 to 8 hours of sleep, whether 6 to 8 really. So I try to wake up at 6 o'clock every day, but it is important. I've noticed days where I've gone to bed after 12. It's not because I was drinking or whatever. I'm watching sports or what have you, and you wake up at the same time, and it's so hard to get out of bed, and that sets your mood for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So I feel like sleep is important, and it's not something that I place a lot of stress on or importance on, but it is definitely important for your mood. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say one thing for the kids that are competing and the adults that are competing. Sleep is so important.
Yeah.
You can't really catch up on sleep. I mean, yeah, you can, but you can't.
But when there's a timeline, you can't schedule.
Tournaments, competitions, training, get into a habit of sleeping well. I remember I used to go to bed so late. I'm talking 2, 3 in the morning, and I had to play at 9 in the morning. Obviously I'm not going to be playing the best if I went to bed at 10, 11, woke up and trained. Sleep is so important. It's good that I can tell people about it now, and I've kind of changed that style myself. But I feel more just ready for the day.
I have a question for you though.
Yeah.
Say you were in a tournament, multiple day tournament, say it was match play or whatever, and you're coming off a win, you're going into the finals the next day. What's your sleep routine like then? The night before a finals match?
It just depends.
Yeah.
It's all situational. I mean, right after a match, what I do is I do my stretches.
Yeah.
So I do my cool downs, my cool down stretching. I go and take a hot shower. I eat dinner, and I go to bed. I mean, that's like.
Do you have trouble falling asleep though?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna be excited.
Yeah.
You're gonna be nervous, and it's good. I mean, if you're not excited or nervous, there's something wrong with you. You know? Like, you're always gonna be like, okay, I got that big match coming up. Like, but this all goes back to routine. It all goes back to your routine. It all goes back to being in the present. It all goes back to all these things. You know, I'm not. Yeah, I think about the match or whatever. You know, and I'm like, but I have a routine.
Right.
And that's why I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
If I win or lose a match, I come and I do my stretches. I take off my wet clothes and I take a shower. I put on my fresh, dry clothes. I eat a dinner. I'm not eating fast food, you know. I'm eating. There's certain things I'm eating, you know, maybe some chicken or some rice, but like something that isn't gonna make me feel heavy and carry over the next day. So that all goes back to routine. And I'm thinking about the match, but I don't worry about it too much. When I step onto the court, boom, I snap into okay, I'm in the present. Let's go. Let's do my routine, my steps, and that's when I'm the most successful.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things I've noticed too with golf is like I've slept on a lead before, and it's pretty rough. You know, it's for me, man. There's so many things and scenarios that go through your head, like what happens on the first hole the next day, things like that. But what I've always found, and this goes back to like doing presentations in college, it's like you're nervous leading up to it. You got things running a million miles an hour in your head. But like when you step on the tee, when you stand in front of the podium, give that speech, everything goes away. I snap back into my game mode, and then like, you know, it's all game on from there. It's weird.
No, it's great because this is another thing I teach. You're gonna have difficulties in school, relationship, fight with parents, parties. I mean, and there's so many things you deal with on a daily basis. I'll give a tennis example since that's what I can relate to. When you step onto the tennis court, you know, I would say a typical match is like an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
For that hour and a half, nothing matters.
Right.
All that outside stuff, you're going to deal with after your match.
Yeah.
When you step onto the court, go into your, I call it your game mode. So I'm David into David's tennis mode.
Yeah. And
I go into David's mode. And David's mode is doing his routines, is playing in the present, and thinking about only tennis. And this is going back to, if I'm thinking of a fight I had or a relationship or party that I'm going to have, something like that, I'm not giving 100% focus to the match, and I'm not going to play my best. Yeah. That doesn't mean I'm going to lose. Yeah. Doesn't mean I'm going to win. That's not what that means. But you're not giving yourself the best chance
and shot. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what you want. You always want to give yourself the best chance of winning. Yeah,
no, it's true. And I think that goes across every sport out there. Is say a pitcher in baseball, you can't be thinking about like your girl fighting with you, you know, the night before, and when you're about to deliver a pitch in the World Series. Like, you know, same with me. Over a 4-foot par putt, you can't be thinking about, you know, the horns going on out there or whatever's happening. So yeah, mental stability. It all goes back to that.
It's, you know, one example that I can think of is I know boxers go away when they train for their fights. They go away for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and they literally are with their coach, their trainer. They just
that's it. Yeah.
They don't have no girlfriends, no wives, no friends, nothing. After the fight, life goes back, but I know that they go away. Yeah. And they just fight, practice, you know, recover.
That takes a lot for someone to do. It's just like uproot their life and just get in game mode, like you said, for 6 weeks leading up to a fight. Like, that's crazy. And I mean, I commend them. That's awesome.
Yeah, imagine if you could do that for, you know, your sport with that, you know, and some people do that.
Can you imagine how good I'd be? I still wouldn't be good.
I'd see you on TV, right?
Maybe.
Yeah. So I asked you this before, but I'm gonna ask again. Kind of, where does your confidence come
from? It's probably gonna be a different answer from before, but I think it's like I said, going back to that routine. I'm comfortable with what I do, leading up to that shot, walking on the golf course to my ball. I'm imagining what I'm gonna do, where I am. If I'm in the rough or I don't have a good, place to hit it, or I don't have a clear shot at the green, then I start thinking, okay, what can I do with the ball? And then you start creating your own confidence there. Like you set a realistic goal on that shot. You can put it anywhere. You can get up and down. So I think one, it's that, and two also is from personal experience. Like the success I've had in the past, you've fought through adversity. You've made it out of these tough situations. So I think thinking about your past sometimes is good, but you don't think about it in the present. When you're walking up to that shot, that's all just like routine. But the confidence I have walking around right now and like knowing my game is good is from previous experience and previous success.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean same answer, and I mean you're a big routine guy, and that's
I am huge.
That's your thing.
Yeah.
And that's good that you found it, because I could do 10 sessions with someone, they have no idea what their thing is. But that's what I do. That's what I work on.
Yeah.
I try to find, for you, just hearing you speak, you could just tell you like the imagery, you like the routine.
Right.
That's your thing.
Yeah, and some people are different. Like you said, everyone's different.
Everyone's
but for me, that's just so reassuring for me. It keeps me going and keeps me where I need to be.
That's great.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for a game mentally? So you have golf, and it's not a game for you. It's a
match.
Yeah.
Or
how do you prepare for the match mentally? And what is it now? Is it 1 day? Is it 2 day? What is it?
So most of the tournaments that I play in are club tournaments at my country club, and most of them are 1 day tournaments. The big ones are 2, but there's never a 3 or 4. So it's really funny that you asked that, because my buddy, my guest for our member guest tournament at my club is John McConville, shout out, and we actually ended up winning the club championship, or not the club championship, the member guest. Nice. Last year though, this was last year, and for the entire year we literally just talked about our routine, and we're like, we're gonna emulate the same exact thing next year.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the first night we had our practice round. We went for drinks after with everyone, went home, played zombies, went to bed, woke up, we brought beers, had a beer at 8 a.m., played golf, killed it, and so on. So we've literally won the tournament, and then this year, it just happened like 3 weeks ago, we did almost identically what we went through, like what we did last year, and it didn't work out. But it's having that routine. Whereas the first year that we played in it, we lost, and like we didn't have a routine. Like we were just like having fun, which is the main thing for this type of tournament. But when you don't have when you're not prepared for something, you can't expect good results.
Yeah.
So if it's an individual tournament, like I planned for the club championship, which I won this year.
Winning, baby. Yeah. Here it is.
So similar thing though, you just try to free your mind. I try to free my mind. So night before, I will have a drink or two. Nothing, I will not get drunk, but it just relaxes me. So I'm relaxed.
If you're not 21, no drinking.
Yeah, that's. But just relaxes me, and I won't be thinking about things throughout the night. So I go to bed, I wake up refreshed, and the morning I start my routine. So my routine in the morning of a tournament is I go to the golf course, I go to the range, I do my range session, I do my putting session, then I go to where we're going to be playing golf or teeing off, and I kind of just sit there. I look at my phone a little bit, but I'm mainly just thinking about what's going to happen, what I want, what my expectations are for the day, and what just.
Yeah. Kind of touching on the drinking, I don't recommend that you guys drink before competition.
That's just for me. It only works for me.
It works for him.
Because I'm older, and that's what we do these days. Yeah. You might have to throw that one out.
Yeah, don't do that one.
And when I said drinks, I meant orange juice. So,
exactly.
Yeah, orange juice, it's good.
Yeah. So, And you talked about this earlier too, but how do you feel after you make a mistake?
It sucks. Yeah, I do get upset, but I'll show it for a second, and then, like I said, I'll see what I can do with the next shot. I just look at it as another challenge. It's going to happen to everyone. You see it on the Pro Tour every single day with every single player. Not one player will have a flawless round. Mm-hmm. So when I have a bad shot, and bad shots are different for everyone. For me, it could be a shank, or it could be just missing the green. Mm-hmm. Whereas for a pro, he could be hitting the green in 2 or in regulation, and he just didn't put it where he wanted to put it. And that's a bad shot for him. So for me, if I hit a bad shot, I ask, what did I do wrong? And what am I going to do about it next time? But I ultimately just forget about it, walk to my ball, and see what I got next. Yeah.
Stay in the present.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah.
How do you receive feedback? So from a coach, from a player, from whoever, how do you receive it? Do you take it? Do you take it in? What do you do?
I definitely take it in. Yeah. So for me, the best way to, I guess, describe it is with my work. So I'm learning still, but I'm a manager now. I manage a center, and getting to that point though, you have to be receptive to critical criticism, or constructive criticism. So for me, I just take it in and I want to correct those and work at it. Yeah. So I do that, and I do that for golf. Like I'm not like egotistic. I'm not that cocky, although I don't lose balls very often. But no, like little things, like I'll listen, yeah. And I do listen to people.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
It's always good to take feedback. So where does your pressure come from?
Oh.
Because I'm going to say, for me personally now, maybe pressure came from my parents or from a coach or from myself, but I don't really have new pressures now.
Yeah.
So,
different pressure.
What about you? Where are your pressures?
It's almost identical. So when I was a kid, pressures come from your parents and your coach. And your coach, they both, all of them want what's best from you, but in the end, you still feel the pressure. You want to make them proud and happy. And to be honest, now I still think about my father when I'm out there playing in the tournament. I get pressure from him, but I also get pressure from my opponents now. That's new to me. Whereas in the past, I was just playing my game. Now I feel it. You feel everyone around you watching you, big crowd, and so that's a new pressure. But now I have pressure on myself or from myself, and it's something that people deal with. Like, I don't think you're human if you don't have pressure from yourself. You want yourself to do good, yeah. But if you don't care about playing well, then what are you playing for?
Exactly. It's funny they said that when you go and play, you're not playing for me, you're not playing for your mom, your dad, yeah. Your coach, you're playing for you.
Yeah.
And I tell this to the people I work with. I say, you're not playing so I can be happy. You're not playing so anyone around you is like, oh yeah, you're playing for them. You have to play for yourself. Mm-hmm. And when you play for yourself, that's when you're going to see some results.
Yeah.
I'm not playing because my dad said go play.
Yeah.
I'm playing because I want to play, because I want to win, because I want to be the best.
Right. And that's actually, so growing up, obviously your dad, like there's days where you don't want to practice, you don't want to go to practice. So for soccer, for me, I felt like there was days when I was a kid that I didn't want to go to practice. And I didn't want to do it for myself. And it was my dad pushing me. But I look back at it today, and I'm like, holy crap, like, thank you. Like, because now I see, like, why he did that. And he just wanted me to realize that in the future, like, like, this is what makes you happy. This is where it comes from, So, and practice makes perfect.
So last thing I'm going to ask you is, what about golf brings you joy? What about sports in general just brings you joy?
All right, so I'll talk about golf first. Golf, one of the main things now that brings me joy is just a fall day, 70 degrees, sunny, leaves are changing. You're walking the golf course, and you're just taking a deep breath, and you're looking around, and it's literally the most beautiful scenery you can have. Like, what else is there that you can want in life? When you see that to me just it's amazing. But other things that make me happy about golf, just the results that I see. I love being around golf. I love seeing other people play well now too, not just me.
Yeah.
But when you play well yourself, yeah, it's a bonus. But in terms of sports in general, I'd say the competitive aspect, there's always a result, and I just enjoy that. I don't know. There's something that I can't explain about it. But golf, all day, 7 degrees.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, I appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
Doing this interview with me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Take a moment. I'm gonna leave your Instagram in the bio, but take a moment, tell people kind of where they can find you, and maybe you wanna play some golf with him, or hopefully not, but get some treatment at the Novacare. So
yeah. So my early days, you can find me at the golf course at DuPont Country Club. There almost every day, whether it's working out at the range or playing golf on the course. But I do work for Novacare. Novacare is a big corporation, but I specifically am in Hockessin, Delaware. And if you're ever looking for anything, any questions, even being a student of mine, being a patient of mine, or just shooting the stuff, just call me. All right. I work at the Hockessin Novacare. Also, I have my TPI certification. We didn't talk about this before, but it's a rotational sport certification that I specialize in. And if you're a golfer, baseball player, tennis player, or any rotational athlete, give me a call at my center. I can help you out with that, and I can give you more information about it. But and it doesn't have to be pain; it could be performance as well. But if you are looking for me, hit me up on Instagram.
Thank you for making it to the end of the video. I hope you did enjoy. Please leave a comment. Let me know who you want me to talk to, what type of athlete you want me to interview. Like always, please show some support by subscribing and dropping a like. And I'll